Hey everybody, real quick before I get started, I want to tell you guys about something new that I'm trying out. I started a new Discord server. It's called One Mic. There is a link to the Discord in the episode description, and there will continue to be a link in the episode description for all subsequent videos. The reason I want to do this is because I wanted to give us all a space to collectively talk about all of the shows that I'm covering, so we don't have to talk across each other in the comments, or maybe miss some comments or miss some replies. I think it's a good place for us fans who are fans of the shows that I cover, fans of this channel, whatever that may be, for us all to get together and just kind of like talk about the show. So what I did was I created the server, and then I created channels within it for each show that I'm covering at that time. Right now it's set up to cover the, I think, 4 or so shows that I'm covering right now, and then I've added channels for shows that I'm going to be covering in the month of December that I know for sure. And then as I'm covering shows will cycle in and out. So like once I'm done covering a show, a channel will be deleted, and then once I start covering a show, a new channel will be added. So check out that Discord. I look forward to talking to you guys, and now let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 4 of the FX and Hulu limited series Fleishman is in Trouble, entitled "Oh God, what an idiot he was." It's not even "Oh God." I went too far with the episode title, getting way too into it. Generally, episode titles tend to focus on a very specific aspect of an episode, and sometimes I'll find myself wondering, like, I wonder what the episode title maker was thinking when he chose this. Like, what was he trying to decide on, he or she? Well, this was pretty obvious, because this episode deals with the fallout of Toby's realization about Rachel and Sam, and through that, Toby's realization that Rachel just might not really have hit her true nature, that he just refused to see who she truly was. And, of course, God, what an idiot that makes him. Which, honestly, from my perspective, I don't think that makes you an idiot. Like, you know, you fall in love with somebody, the things that are great about them tend to stand out. The things that aren't so great, you tend to ignore, push down, repress, whatever the case may be. I don't think Toby's an idiot for missing these things. I really don't. But I understand the title, for sure. So we see this dynamic mostly at play when Toby goes to his old place that Rachel still lives at. And one thing I enjoyed about these scenes, it's kind of like the car scene that I mentioned, and I think it was episode 1, the car scene where the camera rotated within the car and the people just like their clothes just changed and it didn't cut, and it was like a really cool scene. These scenes in the apartment, they seamlessly incorporate these memories that Toby is seeing around the apartment with his actual present day searching of the apartment. And it actually works to really good effect, because there's multiple moments where it tricked me into thinking that Rachel was actually in the house just somewhere else. And I got like nervous for a minute. I'm like, oh shit. They even had Toby react as if she was in the house. So like that scene actually worked really well, because I'm thinking like, when you have that happen, you automatically think, what if the person is home, or what if they come in while the person is there? So you're already gonna have that tension. And the way they integrate some of these scenes, like making you hear Rachel before you see it. Because if you hear Rachel, you think, oh, maybe she's in the other room. But then the camera keeps panning and you see her and Sam having a conversation. And obviously that's not really happening. So I thought they did a really good job with that. And it kind of added to the tension of that scene. But as we move through the apartment, Toby finds all kinds of items that he thinks Rachel wouldn't use. Weed, tea, beef lo mein, and he's confused on why there are so many items that Rachel doesn't use around the house. But to me, this just serves as further evidence that Rachel, when she likes someone, she'll adapt to whatever it is that they like she did with Toby's walking. Now, of course, you can make an argument that maybe she always liked those things, weed, tea, beef lo mein, and she pretended not to like those things for Toby, but that will rely on Toby not liking those things for her to pretend, and we haven't established that Toby doesn't like weed or beef lo mein, so that doesn't really work. But we have established that she does stuff she doesn't like for the person she loves. So I think that's just a bigger clue that, you know, now the walking that she did with Sam, she might be doing weed and tea and beef lo mein with Sam. I mean, I'm going to say the walking she did with Toby, she might be doing weed, tea, and beef lo mein with Sam. But it also could be maybe Toby was kind of a dick about those things, and she secretly really wanted to smoke weed and drink tea and just didn't. So we don't know, but one thing we do know is she's doing shit with Sam she didn't do with Toby, and that's going to fuck up any person. We also have to contend with Toby imagining what might have happened there, which is, like I said, that helped assist in kind of like the tension in that scene, but it also made for one of my favorite scenes of the episode where we see Claire Danes getting her back blown out, singing the tunes about the gratefulness of beef lo mein. So that was hilarious. Like, I'm thinking, like, is he dropping beef lo mein on her back? Like, oh, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, funny and interesting scene. Another wild scene, wild might be an overstatement, but entertaining scene was when Toby meets with his lawyer. Now, the lawyer is played by J. Smith Cameron, and she plays a slightly goofier, more tongue-in-cheek version of the character she plays on Succession, Jerry. He wants full custody of his kids, but it kind of immediately comes off as a way to spite Rachel and not something he truly needs because Jerry, I think her name was Barbara. Barbara points out immediately, like, you kind of got full custody now, which I feel like that was in poor taste, actually, to say that. But it was just a moment where I kind of think the show was being a little bit more lighthearted. But in reality, if I'm upset about my missing wife and I can't find her, and you're like, and the lawyer's just like, hey, I guess you do have full custody, hardy har har. I'm like, yeah, you're fired. She also tells him that in this scenario, he's the wife. And that's gotta hurt because what have we established already, right? Toby has a chip on his shoulder about his career, and he has a chip on his shoulder about how he's perceived. So to hear that Rachel is the husband because of her job, yeah, that's gotta sting. So we then have a scene that was kind of odd to me, where Toby has sex with one of the women we've seen him be with in previous episodes, Nahid. And after they have what looked to be awkward and entirely devoid of enjoyment sex, she goes, well, that was interesting. Well, that was interesting, which I actually think that was interesting might be worse than that was bad. Because bad is bad. Interesting is kind of more like, what the fuck was that? Like, I don't even know what that was. Like, that sounds worse than bad, at least as it pertains to sex. But then she tells him she can't go to breakfast, like, out to a restaurant because she doesn't date. And she's like, yeah, but we can order in, though. And I'm like, I'm struggling to understand how breakfast in bed is less intimate than going out to a restaurant. And it seems to me like Nahid is full of shit and there's something else going on here. And it made me wonder, maybe she's married, which would be interesting because then that would make Toby someone else's Sam. And I feel like that would fuck with Toby. But speaking about Toby, we also continue to see more examples of Toby's self-absorption. Now, we haven't gotten to a point where the scales have kind of balanced in the who's the shittiest race between Toby and Rachel. Rachel is still ahead by a massive margin. She'd have to do like tortoise in the hair and just take a nap to allow Toby to pass her. But for right now, Rachel's still way ahead. But we do see some stuff that's a little bit concerning with Toby, again, as far as him being self-absorbed. For starters, when Toby learns that Rachel has been seeing Sam, that becomes his sole concern. Like, he's obsessed with that. And again, because we know he has a chip on his shoulder, right? He's looking at it like, well, before I even criticize Toby, I do want to put out, it is understandable to be obsessed with that. That's some earth-shattering fucking news to find out about, especially Sam specifically. But what about the fact that she abandoned her children via, like, no call, no show? Like, she left them with you in the middle of the night, then ghosted you and disappeared to be another, like, that is indisputably worse than being with Sam. Like, being with Sam, yeah, that's gonna hurt, that's gonna suck. But abandoning the kids like that? So, like, the idea that even though she abandoned the kids like that, he's more upset about the fact that she's with Sam, that shows what's going on in Toby's mind. And that shows that he's not processing things the correct way. He's just too focused on how everything that Rachel has done, on how it's an affront to him, and not about how it might be shitty for other people. Which is, well, I'll get to that in a moment, actually. I was like, I started trying to change the subject, but I'm changing it too early. Let's see. So he then goes on to visit Libby, and he's at her house, and they're getting their family ready to go to the pool. And her husband, Adam, again played by Josh Radnor from How I Met Your Mother, he's getting the kids together on his own. He's very clearly frazzled by this. And Toby and Libby are both ignoring him while Toby just selfishly dominates Libby's attention despite this clear frustration and need for Libby to help with her own family. Like, it really was irritating for me to see Toby not at all concerned with how he was intruding on her family life, and also to see her not concerned with how much of a problem Adam was having. But now I wonder about Libby too, right? Like, and I feel like you all do at this point. Like, I feel like we should all be in collective agreement in wondering about Libby, because, like, one, she's completely ignoring her husband to help Toby. She tries to abandon the plans with her family to help Toby. The plans that were discussed once they were at the pool. I think they were watching movie Frozen or something. I don't know. I can't remember what they were watching something. And she tried to abandon that. There's a moment where Adam and Toby are sitting by the pool, and Adam says it's nice to finally see Libby passionate about something again. And that seems to suggest that she's been pretty dead inside prior to Toby re-entering their lives. And I just wonder if this is all a sign, plus other stuff that's happened in previous episodes, if all of this collectively is a sign that Libby's not happy in her marriage, which I think it is, but more so, are we meant to believe that she might have a thing for Toby? I don't know, but I'm interested to see where, if we do get to a point where it's revealed that Libby is having issues with her marriage, how that's going to tie in with what's going on with Toby. But unsurprisingly, moving on from the topic of Toby being self-absorbed, the one place where Toby is as far from self-absorbed as you could possibly be is at work. What an incredible fucking doctor this guy is, man. How effortlessly he can provide people with the maximum amount of comfort. The great line of this episode for him was when he was talking to Karen Cooper's husband. Karen Cooper was the woman that had a liver issue in this episode. And he's devastated to learn that the wife's going to need a liver transplant. The husband is. And Toby says, I don't have the quote written directly here, but it's something to the effect of, like, I know this seems like some once in a million why me bullshit from your side, but from my side of things, this is something that happens successfully all the time. And I'm like, why is that the most comforting fucking thing you could possibly hear? Like, I don't know what this feeling is like. I hope I never do. But to have that feeling of, like, oh my God, my wife needs a liver transplant, and you feel like your world is crushing you, and you're just like, how did we get here? What the fuck is happening? And it does feel like a why me kind of thing. And in that moment, to be told, like, hey, I know this feels like some what the fuck shit to you, but for me, I see this multiple times a day, and I fix this all the time, and it happens successfully, and these people go on to live. Like, that would be an ultimate relief for me. Like, I'd feel so much better. And I thought that was such a great scene. And I love seeing how Toby effortlessly moves from having a really hard time dealing with his personal life to being there for people who are having hard times in their personal life at his hospital. So, like, really great stuff. I loved that scene. I really did. But Toby also talks about ascribing certain positive personality traits to Karen Cooper to kind of justify her need for the liver, right? Like, he's like, if you need somebody with a liver transplant, you want to build up in your mind how good this person is and how deserving of this liver they are, which seems weird, but that kind of makes sense. Like, I'm assuming the criteria for who gets a liver is probably so devoid of unimportant factors that you probably end up in situations where somebody from a doctor's perspective, somebody like a shittier person might get a liver before a better person who might need it more. But, I'm completely guessing there, but he tries to essentially attribute attributes is, I'm sure that's not right. But he tries to ascribe these positive attributes to Karen Cooper, I guess in order to make himself feel good about her being able to get this liver. And then her friend shows her pictures of like kissing a guy's nipples in Vegas. And I thought Toby was going to go, oh my God, she doesn't deserve one now, as if he's not walking around fucking everything with a pussy that shows up in his phone. But like, it helped him understand though, that sometimes somebody is just not the person that you make them out to be in your mind. And that's when he comes to the realization that Rachel might not be who he thought she was. He was probably seeing things in her that weren't there, but also that she never really hid who she was, and that he probably just wasn't seeing it the whole time. And he just finally has that release and has this big ugly cry at the end of the episode. I failed to mention that it goes through this 12-step kind of thing, but That's not important. That's the final step of the. It's like, you know, the 12. It was like something like the 12 steps of getting over your wife fucking a piece of shit guy behind your back. It was some weird thing like that. So I'm gonna wrap up with a few thoughts. I have a little bit more thoughts than normal because I wanted to kind of spend the bulk of this video talking about Toby and what we learned about him. But I do have a few thoughts before I wrap up. So the first is that the idea of struggling to get through your day job because of the turmoil in your personal life, that is so fucking relatable, man. I'm sure that's relatable to everybody. I'm sure you all have had a day that fucking sucked and you still had to go to work and you had to just sit there and be in that feeling of misery. It's so bad. So like I feel for Toby having to walk around this hospital dealing with the shit that he's dealing with in his personal life. If Toby still has a key to his old place, why is he just now going there to look for Rachel? I think he said it's been 2 weeks. No, like, she's been missing for 2 weeks, and you have a key to her apartment, and you haven't thought to go look there? Like, this is... If you are someone who watched both this video and my video for the last episode of The Peripheral, you are understanding how, how incredibly frustrated I am with people failing to think of the obvious place to look. I don't know why that is a theme for today's videos, but here we are. I mentioned the apartment scene having several moments that tricked me into thinking that Rachel was still in the house and it was really just a memory or projection from Toby. Well, one of those things was quite real and a little confusing. Why would her purse, where he found the weed at, why would her purse be in her house if she's not there? Unless she, I don't know, unless she has like a spare weed purse. Like, she only take, like, she's like, I plan on smoking weed when I go out, so I'm gonna take this purse instead. Like, I mean, it's possible, but weird. Also, it really irked me that when Toby was going through the refrigerator, he was opening the Chinese food containers and leaving them open instead of closing them back. Like, what? Like, wow, you are a real ass. Like, you gotta be a piece of shit to do that. Like, why would you do that? Open them up and leave them. And it reminds me, there's a scene in Gangs of London, and I talked about this in one of my videos, where somebody, like, makes a sandwich, and they cut the they pull the knife out of one of those wooden knife, I don't know, the things that you put knives in to hold them. He takes it out, he cuts the sandwich in half, and he puts the knife right back in. Like, he doesn't rinse it off or nothing. I'm just like, yo, that shit might have breadcrumbs and mayonnaise stuck to it. You're just gonna put it back into the wooden thing? I don't know. It's weird. Things like that just kind of fuck with me, man. I don't know why he left those containers open. I don't know why that guy put that knife back without it, at the very least, just rinsing it off. He didn't even look at it. Anyway, I like how when Toby asked Adam how work was going, he was like, people are still getting sued. And I don't know if that was him trying to fuck with Toby, but I still like the fact that he gave Toby's answer, because when people ask Toby that, he's like, people are still getting sick, so I still got shit to do. So I like how Adam gave, you know, the Toby line. And, you know, as much as I am still very firmly on Toby's side, because we haven't really seen any valid reasons to justify Rachel's horrific child abandonment, but it was pretty hardcore for him to shit on her mothering. And that one, it was like a scene where he's talking about, like, after they'd already decided on getting divorced but hadn't told anybody, that they were actually doing pretty good in that space. And we see them, like, looking at each other a little bit affectionately. She puts her hand on his knee, and she's like, this could be good. You know, we could still have kids. And I'm assuming she means, obviously, separately with other people. And he's like, why are you talking about having other kids? He's like, if you want to be a mom, I know 2 kids in there that could use one. I'm like, God damn, that was some cold-blooded shit, bro. I mean, it's fair criticism, but it was still cold-blooded to say. And lastly, Toby trying to check that guy about smoking that cigarette in the park, that just irritates me. I can't stand people who want to police shit that ain't got nothing to do with them. Like, the entitlement. Hey, buddy, you can't smoke here. Like, he's loyal to a sign or something. Like, what do you give a fuck if he smokes in the park? Let him fucking smoke. But no, you're just so, you have to be, like, what do you, like you want to do a citizen's arrest or some shit? Like, why do you need to be in charge of so much shit? Why you gotta police this man? Like, who gives a fuck? Like, are you in charge of the park? Is it your park? Did you put up that sign? No, shut the fuck up and let him smoke, bro. Unless he's blowing smoke into your face and you're allergic, who gives a fuck? Like, that was really irritating me, clearly. So again, I'm enjoying this show. I'm really enjoying kind of like a very relatable, well, I don't enjoy it, because watching the dissolution of a marriage is not enjoyable, but as far as watching a television show, kind of like breaking down what's happening with these two people and what's happening on the inside because of what's happening on the outside. Like, I kind of like what this show is doing with that. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying assessing Toby and trying to figure out what's going on with him, where this is going next, what we're going to learn about Rachel, all that good stuff. So I will see you guys next week for episode 5. And until then, peace.